Can you hear us?
Sarah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I feel like we should get a cardboard cutout of Sarah.
Good evening and welcome to the first meeting of 2021. Let the record show that all 5 board members are present and accounted for. Mrs. Sagata-Jones, do we have any changes to the agenda?
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board. At this time, no.
Thank you. Has everyone had a chance to look at the agenda, and do we have a motion to accept the agenda, adopt the agenda?
I'll make a motion to adopt the agenda.
I'll second.
Thank you. Mrs. Smith, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Martinez?
Aye.
Mrs. Bartels?
Aye.
Mrs. Wilson?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion passes. Please join me in a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this time, we will conduct our reorganization and election of officers. Is there anybody who does not wish to be considered for board president? Hearing none.
I don't.
Mrs. Smith, you do not want to be considered?
Correct.
Thank you. At this time, I will open the floor to nominations for board president.
I would like to talk about this upcoming year before we make a nomination so that we can make, the best decision. If you think about what's coming this year, we're going to have some school closures and, there's some tough decisions. We also need to work on our superintendent's evaluation and work on our board evaluation. And, before we decide who we're going to nominate, we might want to think who would be the best person, to accomplish those type of goals.
So noted. Thank you. Are there any nominations at this time?
I would nominate Brenda Bartels.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
I'll second.
Thank you. Mrs. Smith, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Martinez?
Aye.
Mrs. Bartels?
Aye.
Mrs. Wilson?
No.
And the chair votes no. Knowing that is a 3-2, Mrs. Bartels is currently board president. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
And I will turn everything over to you at this time.
All right. At this time, do we have anyone wishing not to be nominated for clerk of the board? Hearing no objections, do we have any nominations for clerk of the board?
Madam President, I would like to nominate Mr. Martinez.
Do we
I'll
have?
second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. Ms. Smith, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Martinez?
Aye.
Ms. Wilson?
Aye.
And Ms. Pimentel?
Aye.
And chair votes aye. Motion passes. All right. Okay. We're currently at item 3, call to the public. How many, Ms. Powell, how many do I have, so I know? Okay. All right. The first one is from Yesenia Alvarado.
Madam President, if I may, that was received in Spanish. I would like to read it in Spanish unless another board member would like to. You have the translation of it.
Okay.
Does the board member like to read it in Spanish?
If you could, please.
All right. It reads, Buenas tardes, la relación de esta correa es para expresar mi preocupación por el cierre de la escuela Coyote Ridge. Mis hijos actualmente están registrados en la escuela y ellos están en la escuela de kinder. Mi hija mayor se graduó en la misma escuela y espero que mi hija Garrido también termine el 8 grado el próximo año escolar. Es lamentable que esta profesora de salir de la escuela de la ha llevado a cabo como madre me preocupa como segundo hogar. Definitivamente esta decisión puede llegar a ser un verdadero drama para los niños, aumentado el daño que ya están pasando por todos estos meses encerrados por su causa de la epidemia. Por favor, les pido que consideren esta decisión. Muchas gracias por su atención. Buenos días.
Would everybody like me to read the translated version? Okay. Good afternoon. The reason for this email is to express my concern about the closure of Coyote Ridge School. My children are currently enrolled in school and they are in kindergarten. My oldest daughter, Deborah Alvarado, graduated from the same school, and I hope that my son, Christopher Garrido, will also finish 8th grade next school year. It is unfortunate that this proposal to close the school has been carried out. As a mother, I am very concerned about the emotional damage that the children may feel in stopping attending their school that they consider as a second home. This decision may definitely make a real trauma for the children, increasing the damage that they are already going through by being locked up all these months because of the pandemic. Please consider this decision. Thank you very much for your attention. The next one is from Kelly Abley. Hello, my name is Kelly Abley. I have a 6-year-old son that has been attending Coyote Ridge since 2019. He had attended 2 elementary schools prior to coming here due to the teachers' neighborhood classmates. In the surrounding areas of our home, he did not make a good fit in the alternate options due to the environment, and he was not able to focus or succeed. Since coming to Coyote Ridge, his grades excelled tremendously. He feels cared for and loved. He feels safe in classmates and finds it much easier to follow along. The Coyote Ridge community is by far the best I've seen compared to Holiday Park, Tomahawk, and Discovery. And my son has already been through so many changes in such a short time, it was hard for him to become open to learning, but Coyote Ridge improved his life and therefore mine as a parent. Please do not close the school. The other schools do not have the same culture. The neighborhood of Coyote Ridge is clean and pleasant, and the school's organization truly values differences amongst students and accommodates according. This is something not found elsewhere. I do not want him to have to change schools for a 4th time. His success matters to me and has been my main priority. Please take this message into consideration. This is from David Hummel. Dear Superintendent Scott Jones and GESD Governing Board members, we have received information that because of declining enrollment, 5 schools may have to close at the end of the school year. While I understand that times have been trying and that difficult decisions may have been made throughout this past year due to the political issues surrounding the pandemic, many families have withdrawn their children from the district because of the uncertainty of the models chosen. I am sure that most families, without the threat of becoming ill, would prefer to have their children in a learning environment where their children can socialize with others. Once that is made available, without fear, the schools will be up and functioning and enrollment will increase. I have been an educator for over 35 years in the classroom, teaching grades 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, and have taught music for the past 3 years as a retiree. I have been teaching virtually since March as the Pendergast district, whom I work for, has taken this venue for teaching. It is not ideal, especially for music, but it has been working for most of our community's children. It is difficult for families to have their children home all day, leading to many frustrations and inconveniences. It is also frustrating as a teacher to keep the student engaged in learning. I am always seeking new ways to be able to have the student respond, as our district is doing the same in keeping us trained in these new venues. My 5-year-old son has been attending kindergarten at Coyote Ridge for this year and attended my school last year as a preschooler. I have wanted him to attend school in the neighborhood to develop relationships that will last. He has been in his virtual classroom every day since August. As a kindergartner, he does have trouble focusing at times on a computer screen. I am sure that he would do better in the classroom, but there are distractions there for his age too. My wife has wanted to send him to a charter school so that he would have more interaction without the restrictions. She does not believe that he is receiving the education that he should be getting. I have discouraged this because I do not want him to be bouncing around from school to school, but to have stability in one school's community and atmosphere. With this pending decision of closing schools, with Coyote Ridge being one of them, it is difficult to support GESD. Both of my older daughters attended Coyote Ridge from its very opening and completed 8th grade there. It has always been a good school, and now under the direction of Mr. Abbott has become a STEAM school with highly performing status. I also teach at a STEAM school in my district and see the benefits that affords all students. It seems with the current struggles that we all face that making a decision of this magnitude is ill-timed. The families will lose more confidence in those that are making decisions. The money that should be saved through maintenance and operations with the buildings being closed should make up for a lot of the salaries that are needed. I realize that salaries are over 50% of the budget, but closing whole schools is not an answer. Please consider this course of action and look for creative answers to the problems you are facing. I hope that you have been in contact with the leadership in Pendergast School District. While not perfect, have seen to have great success. This next one is from Denise Erives. To whom it may concern, both of my children go to Coyote Ridge. I relocated to a better school district than what we were currently living in. We changed our lifestyle to and living location to qualify for my kids to go to Coyote Ridge. To hear that it potentially may shut down is heartbreaking. We plead you to please keep it open. Okay, I have a second one. I guess it's the same email, but it's from Mark Hummel. I have been a resident of the Glendale Elementary School District since 1969, attending William C. Jack in 4th grade and through Unit 6, present-day Men's Day, through promotion to high school. Both of my daughters attended Coyote Ridge, both being the first to attend there from kindergarten through 8th grade. I also substituted in the district for a short time. I believe this decision to be premature in the fact that the pandemic has caused some people to seek temporary options from public school, but would reconsider when in-person learning returns. As I wrote in a previous letter, there was a lack of confidence in decisions that were being made. I have talked to parents that will most likely be returning once children are returned to in-person learning. There are also many new buildings in the housing market going on, specifically in the Coyote Ridge area, that will cause overcrowding in your proposed ideas. This will cause a greater lack of confidence in the decision-making process. I have always seen GESD as a progressive district with students being a priority. This does not seem to be a visionary decision, but a safe decision based on the fear that is plaguing our country right now. Base your decision on the future, not on the present. I would be willing to be placed on the agenda to speak to the board personally if necessary to address this issue. And then we have Glendale Education Association. Dear Board President, members of the board, Superintendent Sakata Jones, as you continue discussions on boundary changes and possible school closures, repurposing, the following questions have been proposed by staff members in a variety of working groups. Many of these members have followed district policy and first shared their concerns and questions with their administration. Unfortunately, their questions have gone unanswered through no fault of their administration. Staff members have been told that decisions have not been made. While we understand that these decisions are still in the discussion phase, we would like to pose these questions to the board for the purpose of receiving an answer. First, how will the school closures impact our classified staff members? Will they be non-renewed, or is there another process? 2, will staff have a choice in their new placements? How will these new placements be determined? 3, what will be done with the vacant sites? 4, will teachers impacted by school closures repurposing still be charged the liquidated damages fee if they sign their contract and are placed but are unhappy with their placement? 5, how will administration be transferred? 6, we would like transparency in why sites were chosen for school closures repurposing. 7, staff members have been asking for small classes for the last 5 years. Will this still be a district priority? We appreciate you engaging us in these conversations. We hope as these discussions stay transparent and you keep our questions in the forefront. This next one is from Mario Treviso. Dear President Pimentel, members of the board, I was recently informed that the Glendale Elementary School District is facing the unfortunate closure of some of its schools due to the decreased enrollment of students and the remapping of school boundaries. I am a parent who has had a child attending Coyote Elementary School, which is one of the schools being considered for closure. I understand unfortunate and tough decisions have to be made, but I'm asking for the school board members to not consider closing down a school which is overall performing very well, like Coyote Ridge. In the research I was able to conduct through public information resources, I compared Coyote Ridge to other elementary schools like Discovery, Desert Mirage, Sunset Ridge, and Bicentennial, which are located near Coyote Ridge. Coyote Ridge has a higher number of students currently enrolled compared to the other schools located nearby. It would not make sense to close down the school with the higher amount of students and having to relocate and affect a higher amount of students by moving them to less populated schools. In comparing Coyote Ridge's performance to Discovery, Desert Mirage, Sunset Ridge, and Bicentennial, Coyote Ridge has performed very well in its yearly rankings and benchmark goals. 2019, Coyote Ridge had 5 first-place rankings in the AZ Merit test results. Coyote Ridge is also one of the newest schools in the Glendale Elementary School District, where the maintenance cost of the campus should be more cost-effective compared to an older school in the district. I understand sometimes unfortunate and tough decisions have to be made, but I'm asking the school board to please reconsider closing down a school like Coyote Ridge, where its performance is shown to greatly benefit its students and the community. No one in the community wants to see a school closed down, but if one has to be closed, please have those students come join Coyote Ridge and receive the great educational performance it has been providing to its students. And the last one is from Susana Durame, the president and board members of the board. My husband and I are parents of a child attending Coyote Ridge Elementary School. We are writing because, like you, we want all of the students in our schools to succeed. We have seen firsthand how great Coyote Ridge Elementary School has been for our child and for the children of our community. We would like to see Coyote Ridge be able to continue to ensure the students in our community's academic success. We are aware that we are facing a unique challenge presented by COVID pandemic. We are also aware that there will need to be a collaborative effort on behalf of the teachers, administrators, and parents to ensure the health and safety of the students. It will be a challenge, but the quality of education at Coyote Ridge would be worth the extra effort. Coyote Ridge has achieved the high rankings in the AZ Merit test results and has been placed first 5 times in recent years. Due to the school's performance and achievement, Coyote Ridge was even encouraged to apply as a model professional learning community, which would label Coyote Ridge as a model school for teacher collaboration and student learning. What better way to continue to set an example than to have the school stay open and continue its success in education while adhering to safety protocols. Principal Abbott has been an integral part of Coyote Ridge academic success, and we are confident that he can meet this particular challenge and continue the school's growing legacy as a model school. Moreover, the teachers of Coyote Ridge have been highlighted for their proficiency and have been vital for the school's success. With the understanding of the significant collaborative effort required to ensure the health and safety of everyone involved, We know that this is in the best interest of the students to keep the school open. Like us, we know that the parents of our community will wholeheartedly support the school and will make every effort necessary to see that the school stays open and that its students continue to succeed. All right. We are now at Section 4, Consent Agenda. Are there any items that board members wish to have pulled aside?
I would like to pull 4D.
D is in David?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, do I have a motion?
Can I get clarification? She's talking about the certified personnel report?
Acceptance of gifts.
No, the classified.
Classified.
Oh, classified.
Oh, classified is, then that's
D.
4E, as in Edward?
No.
D. D. I thought she said B.
D is in David, correct?
Yes. Isn't that classified?
No, that's certified.
No, it's classified.
I'm looking at a printed one because
on a
my
printed one.
tablet is messing up.
Well, whatever letter it is, I want the classified.
All right.
Well, I'll move to approve the consent agenda omitting 4D.
Second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. Ms. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Martinez?
Aye.
Ms. Wilson?
Aye.
Ms. Pimentel?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion passes. Ms. Smith, your concerns regarding 4D?
Under new employment, can we either tonight get the pay for number 9? It says the nurse RN, or just have it brought back with correction next board meeting? Which is better?
What?
The nurse RN,
doesn't
number
have the
9
pay.
under new employment, doesn't have a wage next to it.
Yes, yes, we can bring that back.
So tonight, we can still approve it and it'll just come back as a correction, correct?
Correct.
All right, Fellows move to approve the classified personnel report.
I have a first. Do I have a second?
Oh, second.
Okay. Ms. Wilson seconds. Ms. Smith, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Martinez, how do you vote?
Aye.
Ms. Wilson?
Aye.
And Ms. Pimentel?
Aye.
And chair votes aye. Motion passes. Okay, Ms. Agata-Jones, we're at 5A, GESD Health Benchmarks Update.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board. This time, Dr. Louis Lafitte will present the health metrics.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. Just to go over some of the health metrics that were presented to you this evening. As you look, we've seen a dramatic increase in our numbers with regards to cases per 100,000, as well as percent positivity within our zip codes and in our district. We've seen an increase from the most recent numbers from 29.58% to 30.84% in terms of percent positivity, but we've seen a significant jump in cases per 100,000 from 605 to 822. If you look at those numbers over the most recent few weeks, we've seen, when we looked at December 10th, the last time we looked at those numbers back then, cases per 100,000 was at 323, or in the 300 range. And to date, we've seen it just steadily climbing as a district, as with all of the other areas. In terms of our numbers with regards to our surrounding districts and comparable districts, our numbers are are right about in the middle of all of our surrounding districts, where some are in the 700s, but then others are in the 900s. We're at the 822 for cases per 100,000. Our zip codes, we've seen a major explosion in 85302, where that number has moved from 617 cases per 100,000 to over 1,000 cases per 100,000, which for us makes that our highest zip code for cases per 100,000, as well as percent positivity. Any questions before I move forward? And then when we look at our daily numbers, they're pretty much a picture of what those overall numbers look like. A couple of things to add to this. As you may be aware, we, across the country, across the world, vaccines have begun to go out, and we're part of Group 1B, which would be our educators. And so one thing that we were asked to do by the state and the county was to put out a survey just to get a sense of what percentage of our staff would possibly be willing to get vaccinated. And so we sent out our survey. Our most recent results that we had gotten as of Monday, we had 556 of our little over 1,400 staff who had returned that survey, and about 85% said they would get vaccinated, and 15% said they would not. Just to give a sense of what that number may look like for us and how that may play into the other numbers you saw earlier and our potential return in the future. And then one other thing to add as well, we have a partnership with ASU to support, it's called School Support Pilot Project, and they offer free testing for us where after the testing, they provide us the numbers with regards to how many staff members are actually getting tested for that. And so this partnership just began this week, and at the beginning of the week, we had four staff members that were tested after the first couple of days of the project. And so just wanted to give an update on all things COVID related at this time.
I'm just shocked at the numbers. I mean, we've been watching the news and seeing them climb and climb and climb. But to see it that close and jump that fast in our community is a little terrifying. Does anybody else have any comments, questions?
6 months ago, I remember having a conversation with some of my coworkers. It's like you see all the numbers going up, but I don't even know anyone that was sick, and now everybody I know is sick, or there was somebody in the hospital. I mean, I got it over Christmas break. I was fortunate enough to have a very light case, so it wasn't an issue, but people in my house got it. People that we're related to that were by our house got it. Friends of mine that I talked to on Facebook, they got it. They got moms in hospitals and stuff. It's absolutely ridiculous, and I think it kind of shocks me when I hear that 15% of the people said they don't want to get the vaccine, and I'm like, jab me right now and just put that stuff in my arm, because every little bit helps. We ask our kids to prove their vaccinations before they go to their first day of class. I don't see any reason why I would hesitate as an adult to go get the same vaccination.
Yeah, when I think back on when I was in school, which was grade school many, many moons ago, we had smallpox and polio, and we were lined up. You didn't have a choice. You were lined up. You were jabbed or whatever, and of course now we don't have smallpox and polio. I think maybe, I don't know if there are any cases. I haven't heard of any, but that's the only way that this is going to get under control, is if we get everybody to get vaccinated, and there really is nothing to be afraid of. My son, just for those of you out there that maybe are allergic to the flu shot, he's allergic to the flu shot, but he took the vaccine. He's had no negative reaction to that at all. So just to let anybody else know that might have a negative reaction to the flu shot is. It's not connected. If you have that, then it doesn't mean you'll have a negative reaction to the vaccine.
I think what's shocking to me is we look.
Madam President, if I may, I believe we're off topic.
Thank you. All right. Do we have any questions specifically for our district on the metrics or the survey? Okay. Hearing none. Ms. Scott-Jones, we're on 5B, benchmark and instructional data presentation.
Yes, Madam President, members of the board, this time Dr. Jerry Peterson and Carvalho will present the data.
Good evening, Madam. Whoa. Good evening, Madam President, members of the board, community member. I am very happy to be sharing this with you because I think before I start, I wanted to just congratulate all of our administrators, our teachers, our achievement advisors, everybody, all the staff that have made getting assessment results to happen in school districts right now. As you can imagine, taking a test virtually is very different than in person, and getting 100% participation to do that in a way that is with fidelity and no help from others in the room is quite the chore. And our teachers have done this with aplomb, and so have a lot of other people. So we're very, very happy with that. So to just give a quick overview about our assessment system, every school district tries to achieve what's called a balanced assessment system. And a balanced assessment system has a formative part and a summative part. Formative means that it informs teaching and is usually done more on a daily basis or on a bi-weekly basis. Summative is more an evaluation of learning, like if they learned it and then we move on. And so we try to do that because the goal for every school is that every child is to make at least 1 year's of growth in 1 year's time. That's what our job is, and that's what our goal is. And the formative and summative assessments happen throughout the year to make sure that we're on pace for that goal. On top of that, we have state and federal guidelines that influence our district balanced assessment plan, which then affects AD accountability, and we'll talk about accountability a little bit later. But with things like Move On When Reading, which is still in place, it did not go away with anything with the pandemic. The governor's executive order that, if you remember way back, it seems like forever ago, but last summer the executive order said everybody must install or implement a benchmark or universal screener at the beginning of the year to see where kids are at. And federal accountability, like things like our AZELA test, which is the language proficiency test, AZM2, which used to be AZ Merit, which then now next year will become AASA, which is Arizona Academic Standards Assessment, and then AZ-SCI, which is used to be AIM Science. So all those things are still in place, and we'll talk a little bit about what that means for this year too a little bit later. So as you know, in Glendale Elementary School District, we have benchmarks through our benchmarking system, which is Galileo, for 3rd through 8th grade. Well, a few years ago, we decided that we really needed to have some benchmarks, quote unquote benchmarks, in kindergarten through 2nd grade to make sure that kids are ready for 3rd grade. And in kindergarten through 2nd grade, anybody who's been a kindergarten through 2nd grade teacher knows that the best way to assess a kindergartner through 2nd grader, because it's more foundational skills, is one-on-one. And to do that, you have to still do it one-on-one, whether you're in a virtual environment or not. So again, kudos to those K2 teachers for getting this data so that we can look at it across the district. So you'll see the next slides, and I'm glad you all have them in front of you too, because there's a lot of data coming at you in the next few slides. And I'll explain to you what every slide means. So the next few slides deal with the rolling assessments, and along the left-hand side of your screen, you'll see what the criteria are for those rolling assessments, and then how it's broken down by our diverse subgroup, our diverse populations, and then how many percentage of students are minimally proficient with that, partially proficient, which means they're almost there, and then proficient, which means they got it. So as you can see in kindergarten, we are in our virtual environment. It's been hard. Letters, names, and sounds, as you can read it all the way across, 72% of our kindergartners do not know all of their letter names and sounds by December. That is a tall order, as it normally is when we're in person. It's a tall order for all 5-year-olds to learn their letter names and sounds by December. Now, on top of that, trying to do that in a virtual environment, it's a little bit harder. And so we're doing some innovative things with parent involvement to get parents the materials that they need to make sure that they're studying those at home, and doing a lot of other things with that. But you can go down the left-hand side and see where that is. We're doing a little bit better with rhyming words, only 37% minimally proficient. Sight words, that's a hard one. We have about 100 sight words for them to learn every year, and they're at about 83% minimally proficient on that, and you can see that on there. Same thing then goes with math, down the left-hand side, counting to 100 by ones, count to 50 by tens, which we also call skip counting nowadays. Counting on from 20, you wouldn't think that's such a hard thing, but it really is a hard thing to start at the number 20 and start moving on from there. But those are the things that we're going to really focus on, and with kindergarten through second grade before the end of the year, to really make sure that they at least have these things. These are the at least things for them to move on to the next grade level and be more successful. So these are those about 10 things in ELA and math for kindergarten that we are just going to be drumming home to make sure that they're able to do, so that they can go on to first grade and be successful next year. So, and the same thing goes for those other grade levels. First grade, similar kinds of things. A little bit better in first grade ELA. First grade math, that's when they start addition and subtraction, in knowing the actual logarithms of addition and subtraction instead of just one-to-one correspondence. Second grade, again, it gets a little more complex with long vowels, R-controlled vowels, 2-syllable words. And in math, which is interesting, our math data for second grade rolling assessments is very similar every single year. You, those of you who've taught clocks and how to read time, there is a, as you can imagine, digital clock. It's much easier for students to understand who can do the correspondence with the sight with the number. With a digital clock versus an analog clock, it's harder for them to tell time by analog clock. But they are still expected to do that. So that's for rolling assessments. We do rolling assessments. The reason they're called rolling, and this is just for your information, the reason they're called rolling is because it can happen every day. I might pull 5 kids a day and just see where they're at. And what in the most successful environments that I've seen personally, I've seen kindergarten teachers be like in the middle of a lesson, and a child, and I say it's successful, but I know that it's not, it doesn't make everybody totally happy when they're teaching, is that a student will raise their hand and say, I want to show you my 5 sight words. But the teacher would be like, but we're on this book right now. But they are so excited to show what they know. And they want to show that they know this. They want to show that they know their letters. They want to show the teacher so they can move on. Mm-hmm. So it's almost like a video game. You get to one level, then you go to a next level, then you go to a next level. And so it's really exciting when kids get really excited about it, too. So the reason it's called rolling is because it rolls throughout the whole quarter and throughout the whole year. Our benchmark data is in reading, writing, and math in 3rd through 8th grade. It's not in science yet, and the reason for that is because we have not been given any test, not implications, test specs about what the AZ science test looks like yet. So for us to be truly aligned with that in a benchmark, we need to know what those specs are. And so we're still waiting for what those specs are in order to create a benchmark off of that so that it gives us valid data. So we'll start with 3rd grade, and we'll do grade level, and I'll explain what it looks like from left to right. ELA, which is really reading in our benchmark, is on the left side, the left 4 columns, and math is the right 4 columns. From the left side over, we start with a year ago's universal screener to this year's universal screener, to last year's benchmark 2, to this year's benchmark 2, and that's really important for us because I think it was Mrs. Smith who asked not only how are we doing this year, but how did that look compared to last year too? Like, are we on track? Is it parallel at all? And you'll find that although the data does not always look the best, we, for the most part, are extremely parallel to last year's data, which I have to tell you, honestly, I was very surprised by. And because I thought, well, it could be worse. So again, kudos to all the people who are doing such a great job in our online environments right now. The teachers are doing really remarkably. So you'll see with 3rd grade reading, the difference between benchmark 2 last year to this benchmark was a 2% difference in minimally proficient, and then about a 2% difference in proficient and highly proficient as well. And then math, 3rd grade math, and I believe it's 4th grade math and then 7th grade math are all, they have more of a dip for some reason, and we're still trying to analyze why that is. 4th grade, here's the data for 4th grade. And then I know that you have these in front of you, so I won't belabor each slide. 5th grade. And once we get to middle school, it's really interesting because in 6th grade, math standards change significantly in 6th grade math after 5th grade. And that's usually because they're ramping up for algebra. And so they start to get into not coefficients, that's beyond that, variables and how to deal with variables. But what's interesting about the standards in 6, 7, and 8 is that 6th grade and 8th grade standards are more similar than 7th grade. 7th grade standards in math are completely different than 6th and 8th grade. And so it doesn't, it's not like a sequence like you would normally think it is. So your 7th grade data, you'll see that that does, especially in math, it increases in minimally proficient. And we believe in our analysis that it's because we need to get better about filling in a couple gaps that may not be apparent in the sequence that the standards have given us. So we have to get better about that. And then 8th grade data. And then, and I know schools wait for these following slides, and these are the ranking slides. And you even heard, you hear about, we heard in a celebration today, in a meeting, we had a lunch and learn meeting with our new administrators today, and one administrator said, we know that we're doing a little bit better because we moved on the continuum. And so a lot of them look at these slides for that. 3rd grade benchmark 2, you'll see geo is also in the mix in all of this, which is exciting to see. 3rd grade math, and again, I won't belabor each of these. Hopefully the color helps to see the difference. While I go through these, I'll talk over them a little bit. One of the things that we've really gotten better about over the years is for those schools like the left side schools to really share their best practices. with the other schools and the other teachers so that our collaborative teams at each school can really start to focus on those best practices. We did that really successfully with math in 3rd grade to 4th grade. We had some really rock star collaborative teams that really got it and figured out some really great strategies, and we started spreading that around the district. And you can see that actually, especially in the 4th grade math data, because of how 3rd grade did too. So that's very exciting. And we're doing better and better with our other grade levels too with that. And we'll get to exactly what those things that we need to focus on, because we know when we dive deeper into the data, we know exactly what we need to be focused on district-wide to help our kids get to 1 year's growth in 1 year's time. In 7th grade math, you'll see that's where that jump happened again. But again, we need to tap into some schools to find out what they're doing because they have significantly less minimally proficient. 8th grade ELA and 8th grade math. So here's some diverse population data for you. It's in percentage form, and it's by each diverse population. It's percentage on the left side, and then ELA on the left, math on the right, sorry. The first slide is percentages. The second slide is numbers. With our diverse populations, we really try not to look at it by percentages, to tell you the truth. Because especially when you get to, well, it doesn't matter actually, any diverse population, any of the three, 100% could have been one child. 50-50 could have been 2 children, one in one area and one in the other area, or it could be hundreds. So we really want to know, we don't just look at it by number, but we also look at it by name of child too, and their needs. So ELL, you see their numbers there. We have actually started our Comp Ed program in ELL after school now. We have teachers who've stepped up and are helping us to do compensatory ed in ELL because we do have about 170 pre-emergent students with really low language proficiency scores that obviously probably virtual, not really, it's probably not the best learning environment for them at the moment. And so we're giving them some extra support with that, some tutoring. I told Superintendent Sagata Jones earlier, I wish I could show you a video. I have this video that our director of ELL shared with me about this little boy who's doing compensatory ed at home, and he was learning the short A sound. And he says into his video camera on his computer, I am learning the short A sound today, and I am finding things around the house with a short A. Here is a hat. Here is, he just starts putting things on the table. It's the cutest thing ever, and it was really nice to see. Special ed numbers. Typically, the special ed numbers and benchmarks are usually resource students who get supplementary services through resource, which they still do get in a virtual environment. They do meet their minutes in the virtual environment. And then gifted. Gifted's probably the one where it's the most like why look at the percentages, because it's just less students usually that have been identified as gifted. And so you can see those numbers there. And gifted. Writing, we do a benchmark in writing as well. And so the state has a rubric that we use in our benchmark to score our benchmark as well. And that rubric is based off of 10 total points. Within there's 4 points for something, I think 4 points, 3 points, and 3 points, I think is how it breaks down. One is for statement of purpose, and you can see we're very parallel to last year's benchmark scores in statement of purpose. Evidence and elaboration, this is one of our high needs areas. As you can imagine, writing Writing anymore on our AZM2 is no longer write about your favorite thing or write a letter to your school board to get more drinking fountains in place. It's not the way it works anymore with writing. It's what is the author's point of view, and then argue it for two different sources and use evidence in quotes. So it's a little more intense nowadays. And conventions, writing conventions. You can see those scores there. And then overall, this is what it looks like when it's 10 full points. You can see we're really between 2 and 6 points total. And we do need to work on our writing, and that is actually something we try to work on each year with our students. So some things to remember, and we went over this with administrators, and I think they probably went over this with their teachers. We don't want to use benchmark data punitively. It's not to be used to be punitive. It's used to inform what we need to do next to help our students. But it's also used summatively in that these things should have been learned already. And so now what do we need to do about it? We need to put into an intervention now. And we need to help cross those gaps and accelerate learning faster now. So that's really what it's used for. It also informs what we call countdown to AZM2 plans, which is really all of third quarter. So instead of just reteaching, well, guess what? We still have quarter 3 stuff to teach too. So how do we do that? Well, we have to be very pragmatic and very purposeful in figuring out what we can spiral in to what's already being learned and doing like a really quick, do you remember when we did this last quarter? You might never understood it then, but maybe we're doing it differently now and you're going to understand it because now we're moving on to this. So there's different ways that you can go about it, so it does influence those things. Also, teachers and admin aren't the only ones to look at the data. Students should be looking at their own data. Students should be making their own goals. Students can look at an aggregate of their whole class or their whole grade level and even map that. Like, how great is that to put it into your own data table and learn that, because that's another thing you're supposed to learn too. And so why not do that? Kill two birds with one stone kind of thing. And look at your very own specific data as well. So that's very much part of it. And as always, when we lead data discussions, because I think it makes some people, you do take it personally. Like when I was teaching, I took it very personally when a student failed, because I felt like I failed, and I did. I felt that way, and what do I need to do? What didn't I do? What could I do differently? Or what could I help the student do differently? I wanted to fix it. I wanted to fix everything. And so we really want to balance urgency with style and grace. We want to boil the pot, but we don't want it to boil over. And that's when we work with students, when we work with teachers, when we work with administrators. We always want to do both. We want to balance the two. Because I don't think anybody works efficiently, especially students, when the pot has boiled over. And so, especially in a virtual environment. So we really want to be careful with that. And then our next steps, there's a lot of steps here, but just know that a lot of them have already taken place. We've been analyzing the data, obviously. Everybody's turned in their quarter 3 proficiency maps and countdown plans and have gotten feedback on all of those already, so that they can hit the ground running this quarter. As you can see, we know in math, we need to work on those things, counting to 100. Like we need to start just getting there and being able to do that in a very rote manner. 2-step word problems, fractions. Fractions is that word that even when we were kids, it was like, oh gosh. Some kids get, some kids don't right away, and it's hard. And especially nowadays, it's hard stuff because fractions actually starts in kindergarten really, but it really starts in 2nd grade in a more meaningful way. And so very hard stuff. And then ELA in reading especially, our sight words, our letter names and sounds, and comparing 2 reading passages. In all the tests that I know I took as a child, I only had to read one thing. And I would always go to the questions first, figure out what they're asking me, and then I'd go back to read and find the answer. And I would look for the same words to find the answer. Well, those kinds of tests no longer exist in the life of our students because now they're thinking tests. And you actually have to annotate what you're reading, and you have to read two different things and try to summarize and synthesize all that information. It's harder. It's much harder, but we know that we need to work on that. So iReady is another, as you know, those of you who have children in the district too, you know that there's iReady assessments, which are reading assessments in our district, and those are, used to be DIBELS, used to be SRI, now it's iReady, and that is a diagnostic assessment, and that is being taken right now across our district, and so that data will be available in a couple weeks. So I'll be able to share that with you as well, so you can see that. The great thing about iReady data is not only does it show where your trajectory is about your diagnostic data, but it also gives the teacher the things that they're supposed to be worked on with the student to get them to accelerate. So it's a really great tool for us. As of today, Azella and AZM2 are still to be administrated in person. By mid-May, they've lengthened the testing window. It used to be 4 weeks for AZM2, now it's 6 weeks. Azella went from about a month and a half to 3.5 months worth of a window. And so, but they all have to be done in person. There is no virtual option, and it is expected you get 100% participation. So I lay that out there because we will need to, when the weeks go on, we're going to need to come up with the plans about how to do that, depending on the health metrics. But know that that is coming. The State Board of Ed has put through a resolution to not only increase the amount of weeks of testing, they also have they're asking legislators to suspend accountability for this year, the letter grades, to suspend the letter grades this year, but not to suspend the assessment. So they still want the assessment to be given, but not to be used to create a letter grade for schools and districts. As you remember, we did not get that. That happened last year. It was suspended, and they're looking for that same thing for this year. Gifted testing is another assessment that's going on that is expected every year. We will be doing both this spring in a virtual manner. We're very fortunate in that the company that we work with gifted testing allows for virtual assessments. And so we're going to work through that, the logistics of that, to make sure that we're still adhering to our gifted testing procedures as well. Lots of data, I know, and that's kind of where it sits, and our plan to implement some strategies. We've started after-school tutoring with students who are part of that. Like I said, we've started compensatory education. I think you got in a board update that the accelerated academies, which is a financial thing from the state, 7 of our schools were identified by the state to be accelerated academies, which really is how are you going to fix the academic gap. So they've been identified, and we're working with them to provide more professional learning for their teachers and more support services and resources for students. We're also looking at, and it depends on a lot of other decisions that are made, summer school, jump starts for next year. We've just had a conversation today that, usually we do a kindergarten jump start. We might need to do a K-1 jump start next year. So we're looking at all those things to help intervene about the academic gaps that may occur.
Ms. Smith, do you have any questions?
No.
Okay. Is there anyone in the room that has questions or comments?
I would just like to say thank you for including both prior year and current year data on a lot of these benchmarks. That way you can kind of see, there's a lot of them where there's a lot of people who were expecting a dip. How much would that dip be? And it's really, there's not much. There's not much there, showing that both the students and the staff have adapted well. And I also want to call out, especially the GEO team and the students and the teachers associated with that, who's never had, using a platform that's never been used before, coming in, and their benchmarks just look amazing almost all the way through. So congratulations to them. Thank you for presenting all this information for us.
And I have to agree with Mr. Martinez, because that has been one of the things in the forefront of the media with regards to our education of our kids. The fact that they're not in person, they're losing out. And I think, we still have work, and we always do. Every year we have work. But the reality is our kids did not do a nosedive like so many are doom and gloom out there. So thank you very much to everyone involved.
Thank you very much, and I really appreciate that. And kudos to the teachers who are doing it every single day.
All right, at this time, we do not have any action items. So we are now on item 7A, board advocacy.
Yes, Madam President, members of the board, Board Member Smith asked to place on the agenda item board advocacy.
Ms. Smith?
So last year in one of our ASBA trainings, they had suggested that as boards, we have a discussion about, how we want to be advocating. And so I had gone and I've looked at all the House bills and the Senate bills, for this year. And I thought, nothing looked like we really need to advocate for or, against, And so I just wanted for us to have a discussion of how we want to advocate as a board this year. There are other boards that have put forth like lobbying efforts and tried to get some things passed, and it may be something that we might want to consider. Do we want to try and get some legislation for refinancing our buildings? Do we want to try and lobby for contract issues? What do we as a board want to do? So that's why I brought it forth.
I think we could attack that as it comes up, right? If there is something legislative that comes up that one of us finds that is important to include the board, then maybe we can approach it that way.
Well, I think in the past too, I know we've asked the superintendent, we want to go, like Lobby Days, ASBA has hosted that and encouraged board members to, make appointments with their legislators. It's always a good starting point to, ask the administration, hey, what can we be better advocates for when we go down and talk to these people, and see, that way we're not, potentially harming the district, because you guys may be working one end and we may end up inadvertently going a different direction and not even realizing it.
I think that this year is going to be more difficult than in years past, considering that session's going to be interesting, probably abbreviated, and we can't go in person like we would normally be able to do. That being said, I think it's always good to have a good relationship with our legislators. Being able to email them, call them, text them. I know that in LD 29, they will answer the phone. They will listen to what you have to say. I can't remember who's on the education committee in both the House and the Senate, but I know that specifically in LD 29 and LD 30, the current legislators are always available to listen and to hear what you have to say, and they are interested not just in their own communities, but in making sure our children are getting a quality education. So I just think that actually physically going to lobby this year is going to be darn near impossible.
Now, if you're referring to getting a letter together or sending a email where we all sign it, you know, I think ASBA sends out to board members, you know, alerts when there's a legislative policy coming up or, you know, something that requires our attention. Then we can discuss it and maybe get an email together where we all sign it. That might be a little more forceful. So I would maybe look at it that way, but I don't think we can talk to anybody. We certainly can't invite anybody to our board meeting.
Right.
So,
No, but I think I've seen in years past where boards as a whole have submitted something, and it's gotten a little more attention than just each of us individually trying to reach out. So sometimes I think we just pay attention and maybe do a more concerted joint effort when the time arrives.
I think I would agree with Ms. Wilson. You know, it's okay to submit a letter of support or maybe adopt a board resolution in support of something, but there's certain things I kind of think is almost outside of our scope as a governing board, because there are organizations that pay people that do this kind of thing, and they'll do it much better than I could ever do. You know, like ASBA, Guppy Mac, you know, all the alphabet groups, and they have groups of people that just look for legislation, they look for lobbying, they look, you know, arguing on behalf of the school districts throughout Arizona and Maricopa County and such. So I don't want to go too far and sort of like wading into somebody else's waters and maybe kind of, you know, hamstring maybe somebody else's attempts at trying to get something done. I'm okay with supporting people, but I just don't want to spend too much time kind of concentrating on you know, reinventing the wheel if somebody's already working on it.
Okay. Do we have any more questions, comments? All right. We are now at item 8, future meetings and events. Ms. Agata-Jones.
Yes, Madam President, members of the board, at this time I'd just like to share a couple of recognitions that are occurring. We had, oh, what's she on? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you told me recognitions or summary of current events. I'm so sorry. Future meetings and events. At this time, future meetings and events, we can look at that. You see what's posted on there if there's anything that needs to be added. January 28th, study session, employment contracts and agreements, February 11th, certified contract renewals, and then through their special meeting, which we talked about needing to keep that on the agenda. But if there's anything else that needs to be added.
And the 28th, we are starting that one at 3:30?
Yes.
what I have here.
Okay, at this time, are there any board members that have any items that they would like added to future meetings?
I have just a question, I think, for the board about whether or not we want to add like a board of, I don't even remember what it's called, but where we get together since we have a new board member and we just go over the norms and things like that. I don't know if, I really want to ask if Mr. Martinez feels like he needs to, get caught up with all the different things and that we're all on the same page. So I don't know if we want to put that on a future meeting or not.
I think for organizations such as this, I think it certainly wouldn't hurt just to sort of revisit those things as to what our norms should be and what our professional code of conduct should be, just to cover it, just like, again, like you said, Ms. Smith, so that everybody's on the same page. Obviously, it's been a learning experience for me over the past several months, half a year, 8 months. It all kind of blurs together after a while. Yes, I would like to kind of go over there at that point. That being said, I don't know how much time you would devote to such a thing.
We could put that on the board retreat.
Okay.
Add that in there.
Anyone else? Okay. Now we're at 9A. Ms. Sagana
My
Jones.
apologies. Yes, Madam President, members of the board. At this time, I'd like to do some recognitions. Through the Special Olympics of Arizona, we were contacted, like the day before we were going on winter break, that they had, I believe, 15 huge boxes of toys to distribute to, well, I said 15, and it was how many? What? Oh, 30 boxes. 15 times 2 is 30. So we were doing distribution of boxes of toys. So they were able, when we returned from winter break, to organize those toys, and we began the distribution of those at sites. So we are very grateful for that. We had another organization also we've been working with, Ms. Powell's been in contact with, that have perhaps some more toys to distribute as well, but we haven't really confirmed that. So I want to thank Special Olympics for their donations to our students, and the students are very pleased, and their families very excited to be able to take advantage of this. Also, we were notified that Tammy Hamlin's a teacher at Horizon School, and she was named the Coyote Teacher of the Month. So we're excited and happy for Tammy, so congratulations to her. Also, as we shared a couple board meetings ago from the Glendale Star, we were recognized for many things, but we received our plaques today, so I just wanted to show you one. And this one, I just happened to pick this one up. So this one is for the Best of Glendale, and this is what they look like. And this one will go to Julie van der Zanden, and she was, as you recall, Desert Gardens' Best Elementary Teacher. So we'll get these to them when we can. We'd like to do that in person. So, and then in our office area, you can see all the ones that we receive for the best place to work, the best district in Glendale. All those are there. So these are very nice plaques for people to have. So we're very excited about that. So I just wanted to share that with you. And then also I'd like to share that, and this won't be official until September, but, you know, I'm going to make it official in Glendale anyway. I was notified that, shared with me that Mr. Mike Barragan has been named as a director for the international, as a director for a board member for International ASBO, and that, as you know, the international consists of those in the United States, Canada, and overseas, and they're known as the top business minds in education administration today. Quite an honor for Glendale. We are so fortunate to have Mr. Barragan to be able to be recognized at the international level, and I know he will do a wonderful job there. Also, it's my understanding that when I looked at it, that Mr. Barragan is the only minority that will be sitting on that board of directors. So extremely proud of Mr. Barragan. You have to understand that when they say the top business minds in education today, that is truly what that organization represents, and we are most fortunate to have Mr. Barragan as a part of Glendale Elementary School District. So congratulations, Mike. And in addition to that, I just want to thank Dr. Jerry Peterson and Carvaya and his staff for the benchmark update. And as we always get nervous about data, and we wondered what was going to occur with it, with the dip, we are pleased with the progress that our students are making. And also, just as been stated by many this evening, congratulations really to teachers for their continuous and tireless efforts in working with students in such a different environment, to our students who are in there every day doing what they can do the best they can. And also I'd like to thank all the parents and grandparents out there as well, recognize them because they're really there helping support the students too during this time. We're approaching almost a year of being in this type of learning environment, and it's a lot of work for all staff. And again, I listened to part of the learning luncheon with our administrators today. Our administrators are doing a remarkable job holding their collaborative team meetings and supporting teachers and all of our support staff as well. So again, kudos to everyone because we truly are all in for all kids here. That concludes my report.
Thank you. At this time, we're on 9B, Governing Board Report. Ms. Smith, do you have any comments?
I do. I just saw today on our GESD Facebook page that Dr. Lafitte, and you, Ms. Bartels, were recognized for going above and beyond and making a difference in GESD. So I want to congratulate both of you on your service to our students and our staff. And I also want to thank our education department for all their hard work and the benchmark data that's been coming out, and that's all.
Thank you. Mr. Martinez?
Again, I'd just like to thank you for all the benchmark information. It was a great dig into what our students are doing, what our teachers are doing an amazing job given the circumstances. And just keep up the amazing work.
Ms.
And
Wilson?
go get your shot.
All right, Ms. Wilson?
Yeah, ditto on everything. Congratulations, Mr. Berrigan. And yeah, that was a great report on the benchmark. So, and I just want to touch on the teachers here. My grandkids, I live with 4 of them, but they were so excited to come back to school, and just to watch them. They're just you teachers are just doing such a great job in getting them excited and bringing them in, and it's almost like they're in the classroom. So you do a really good job that way. And I know it's hard on you, but gee, they sure are enjoying it. So thank you.
Ms. Pimentel?
I'm going to sound like a broken record, but thank you, Dr. Peterson and Corvaya, for that information. It's despite what the talking heads are saying, our kids are learning, and that shows it. So thank you to you and your team and to all of our teachers for ensuring that our kids are still learning and getting a quality education. And felicidades to Mr. Barragan. Thank you. That's phenomenal. You do something that is a completely different language to me, and that's wonderful. Thank you. And to everybody else, please stay safe. These numbers, I think in the last 8 weeks, have gone up almost 3 times, that we have a 33% positivity rate. And I know people that have gotten it, and they say, we stay home, we go to the doctor, we go to the grocery store, and they still get it. So everyone, please wash your hands, please wear your masks, and please be safe.
Okay. I would like to repeat a lot of the sentiments that were already expressed. Like I said before, a lot of people think our kids are not being educated virtually, and we've saw evidence that yes, they are. And if they were doing that this well virtually, imagine what they're going to do when they're back in front of us in real life, in real time. Kudos to, we've had many staff that have been recognized recently, from Mr. Barragan, I believe, Mr. De La Huerta also received recognition. So we have great people in this district, in this community, and I applaud you all.
Madam President, if I may, I would like to end this part of the section with a video. This is National School Board Appreciation Day, and we have a virtual, we did this through asking everybody to submit something to show their appreciation, and we did this virtually, and we have put something together. We want to thank you for your commitment to GSD, and we simply do believe you are simply amazing. That's what our little theme is today, but if you'll take a moment with us and watch this video from staff. Again, governing board members, thank you so much for your commitment to GSD. On behalf of the executive team and myself, we do have some special goodies for you. I know you like edible things, so there's some edible things for you. But again, we do appreciate it. And thank you to our staff. Adriana, our community relations director, put it together for us, and all of our staff and students that sent things in. So we didn't want to go without doing something special for you. So hey, we're doing everything virtual now. Just came as second nature for us. So again, thank you so much for all that you do.
Thank you. All right. At this time, we are on item 10. We have A and B. We have A is for the purpose of at this time, the governing board will consider voting to recess the regular meeting in order to convene to executive session for the following purpose. In accordance with ARS 38-43103, Article 1, for the purpose of discussing the superintendent's employment contract, as well as convene to executive session for, in accordance with ARS 38-431.03, Article 3 and Article 4, for the purpose of obtaining legal advice from and providing direction to the attorney for the public body regarding the superintendent, Cynthia Sagata-Jones, contract of employment. So at this time, I need a motion for 10A and 10B, or do I need to do those separate? Okay. Okay.
I'll move to go into executive session.
Okay, we have a motion.
Second.
And we have a second. Ms. Smith, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Martinez, how do you vote?
Aye.
Ms. Wilson?
Aye.
And Ms. Pimentel?
Aye.
And chair votes aye. At this time, we will recess and go into executive session. Sarah, you're there?
Yes.
Okay. At this time, I need a motion to reconvene to public session, please.
I'll motion to reconvene.
Okay.
Second.
I have a first and a second. Ms. Smith, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Martinez?
Aye.
Ms. Wilson?
Aye.
Ms. Pimentel?
Aye.
And chair votes aye. We are back, and now we are on 12A. It is an action item, superintendent employment contract. Governing board will consider possible action to approve the employment contract for the superintendent, Cynthia Sagata-Jones. Do I have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the items discussed in executive session with regards to Superintendent Sagata Jones' contract.
And I'll second.
Okay, I have a first and a second. Ms. Smith, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Martinez?
Aye.
Ms. Wilson?
Aye.
Ms. Pimentel?
Aye.
And chair votes aye. Congratulations. We have Ms. Sagata-Jones for another couple of years, and hopefully we will get past this year and it will go a lot smoother.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Always humbled to walk as your superintendent and with the governing board. And again, thank you so much. And again, it's your appreciation day, so enjoy it.
Yeah, thank you for the gifts.
All right, at this time, we are now on the adjournment. I need a motion.
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.